In a world of chaotic noise, the podcast Keep Walking With Me searches for potential solutions towards the best version of ourselves. One likes to make questions, the other loves to find answers. Nuno and João are partners from the Walking Mentorship, and they bring the inside look in the life of the people they walk with.
Welcome to the podcast Keep Walking With Me. Today, like always, we have a very special guest from the other side of the pond, from New York City. And the best way to start is to ask, in a nutshell, who is Jennifer Walsh?
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, greetings from New York City. My name is Jennifer Walsh, and I walk with people. I teach people about the health benefits of the outdoors. I actually started in beauty 25 years ago, and I actually had a chain of stores, which were really wellness locations. I sold that business in 2010. And in 2015, I wound up starting to interview people outdoors in the park, and it turned into a business for me. And it's been glorious, and I keep learning every day, and I lead wellness walks in Central Park and around, well, pre-pandemic around the world. But since the pandemic, I pretty much stay close to home, and I walk in Central Park, and I teach people about the health benefits of nature.
And can you tell us a little bit more about what is Walk with Walsh? I think that was what you were talking about. So can you tell us a little bit more?
So Walk with Walsh really came out of just something that I was doing already every day. I walk in Central Park. I was walking with my dog for years, and she passed away in 2015. And I thought for a long time that I would just walk for my dog. But when she passed, I was actually spending more time in Central Park when she was gone, because she was kind of really elderly and sick at the end. So I couldn't really explore Central Park as much as I wanted to because of her health. So when I was walking a lot, people would always say, "Can I walk with you?" And I always said, yes, come walk with me. And then Facebook came out with this live feature so I could interview people. I thought, well, why don't I interview my friends who are CEOs and founders about what it means to be a healthy leader? And so I started doing that. But every interview I did and every conversation I had, each and every person said, being outdoors like this feels so good. I never get outside. And it took my breath away, because each and every person I spoke to felt the same way, and they just never got outside. And I thought, how can you not go outside if you're a healthy leader and you think you're doing good things, but you're not going outside, even though we know innately it feels good and it's good for us. So I went down this rabbit hole, I think in 2015, of I wanted to know more. I wanted to study more of what is our connection to nature? And the more I studied, the more I want to go outside and teach others and continue to do these walks. So I want to have talks about nature while we're in nature, to really kind of hit home the importance of being more impactful with our time outside, and then also bringing nature inside and what that means for our health and well-being. So that's what a Walk with Walsh is in a nutshell.
Well, I want to ask you an unfair question.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Because you will understand quickly. What do you think is more powerful, the walking, the talking, or nature?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I think it's nature leads us to those conversations. And I think that coherence that we have between our heart and our head when we're walking in nature, it's profound. It's really profound. And I don't think we don't allow ourselves time to really find that profound time, the awe moments, because we're always so wrapped up in getting from point A to point B. And that's not where the beauty is. That's not where the glory is. The glory is that kind of the moments in time and nature. But I think when we have those conversations in nature, we're more open to having deeper conversations with loved ones, or just people we're interviewing, or people that we're just meeting or speaking to. I think they're much more free flowing when we're outdoors in nature. And the conversations always get really interesting and deep, I believe.
Well, I can tell you that is our reading of your conversations, because actually they feel so natural, so easy. And actually they flow at 3 or 4 kilometers per hour, our natural walking speed, but the conversation just flows naturally, and they are really beautiful to watch, and we are very touched by them. But now we would like to pose another challenge. Do you want to share your first music with us?
Oh, there's a song there's a band that's called Isbells, and Isbells has a song called Dreamer. And I just love that it's this this melody of, looking out to the sky, and you can dream and you can become. And it's a beautiful song. And I actually play it a lot when I'm walking in Central Park. And sometimes I'll actually put video. I'll do a video and I'll play that song along with the video. It's a really special song to me.
So let's listen.
Let's listen.
Every time you stargaze, the whole world is lying at your feet. Well, your prayers will be heard the moment you start to believe in. Think twice just before you begin, because it's easy to lose yourself in a warm motion. Well, your prayers will be heard the moment you start to believe in. Well, your prayers will be heard. Angels come to sing the moment you start to believe in. Cherish every single day. And fortune is showing you the way. Well, your prayers will be heard. Angels come to sing a song you never heard. Here's a new beginning. The moment you start to believe in, you get a new beginning. The moment you start to believe in, you get a new beginning. The moment you start to believe in, you get a new beginning. The moment you start to believe in, you get a new beginning. The moment you start to believe in, you get a new beginning.
Jennifer, you are on a mission to get people to spend more time outdoors. And, that seems more important than ever. But we want to ask you, are people open to listen to this call and this experience?
Well, that's a great question because before the pandemic, it's hard to get people to spend time outside. It's hard to get people outside of their four walls and their boxes that they not only live in, but they work in and they commute to work in, and they go to the gym in their boxes. So for me to kind of come out and say, go outside, it's so much better for you. We need to be outside. Before the pandemic, sometimes I felt like I was hitting my head against the wall because people said, no, I don't have time to go outside. Like it was a luxury. But since the pandemic, people have really stepped back and have had more time to spend outdoors with their children, their loved ones, their parents, what have you. And I think people are now starting to see that connection to how good it makes them feel because they're giving themselves the time and the permission to spend time outside. So I love getting little notes from people saying, whenever I'm outside, I think about you and what you've been teaching me and to us about the health benefits of going outside. And it makes me feel good to see people are actually taking the time for themselves and for their overall well-being, because once someone feels the power of nature and walking in nature, they then want to share that with their family members, their community, maybe even people at work. They just kind of scream it from the mountaintops themselves.
Jennifer, let me switch the conversation to a little bit of a different angle here. In these days that we are, and as a society, for good reasons, worried about our environment, about the climate, but at the same time, we seem to be more and more apart from nature, isolated in boxes, as you mentioned, and actually getting further and further away from this nature. Do you think that just going for a walk in nature could be a great step to solve this crisis?
Absolutely. It's such a huge step. Even though it seems simple, I think the more time we take the steps outdoors, we then want to learn what's in our backyard. We want to discover the trees or the plants and what grows when and why. I think the more time we spend outside, that then turns something on within us to want to protect that. We want to, once we learn more what's in our backyard, then we're able to see the bigger picture of how we impact the plants and trees and living creatures around us and how they impact us as well. So when we are closed off in our own boxes of, our homes or offices or cars, when we separate ourselves from nature, we are really separating ourselves from being well. Richard Louv coined the term nature deficit disorder years ago. And it's really a profound thing when we are not connected to the nature around us. So once we then connect the nature around us, we're able to look at the bigger picture and how we make an impact on the world and how the world makes an impact on us.
Just love that you mentioned being able to look at the bigger picture because, the times that we are living, it seems that we are so afraid of everything that we kind of forgot how to live. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh, there's so much to that because you're right. People are fearful of so many things, especially since the pandemic has come. A lot of people are very closed off. They're almost very insulated and insular, and they're living in their homes and not going anywhere instead of spending time outside, which is the most important thing. As you well know, getting that fresh air, touching other living things. So I always show touch the plants, touch the trees. That's really building our immune system because people are really honestly so closed off from others and from other living things and living quieter lives right now, especially here where I am. I can see people not being around other people. It's very profound and it's really harmful to our own well-being. So I always try and tell people, go outside and don't forget to touch the other living things. People have pets, so that's great. They touch their pets or their loved ones. But I always say, don't forget to go outside and touch the trees and plants to really reconnect with the natural world and also build your immune system.
Well, I guess that we should ask you, help us to reconnect a little bit better and give us a second song, please.
Oh, my second song is Death Cab for Cutie. It is called Soul Meets Body. I had to think about it for a second. And I love actually the video. I didn't realize this until because I've been listening to the song for so long. I watched the video recently. I said, oh, he's actually walking in the woods when he's singing for the video. But I love the melody of it. And again, it's just this connection to one another. So when we're connected to one another, we're connected to nature and it builds a stronger unity. So I love this song, Death Cab for Cutie.
All right, let's listen to it.
I want to live where soul meets body and let the sun wrap its arms around me and bathe my skin
and water cool and cleansing, and feel what it's like to be new. 'Cause in my head there's a Greyhound station where I send my thoughts to far-off destinations, so they may have a chance of finding a place where they're far more suited than I cannot guess what we'll discover when we turn the dirt with our palms cupped like shovels. But I know our filthy hands can wash one another's, and not one speck will remain. And I do believe it's true that there are roads left in both of our shoes. But if the silence takes you, then I hope it takes me too. So brown eyes, I'll hold you near, 'cause you're the only song I want to hear. A melody softly soaring through my atmosphere, where a soul meets body, where a soul meets body, where a soul meets body. And I do believe it's true that there are roads left in both of our shoes. But if the silence takes you, then I hope it takes me too. So brown eyes, I'll hold you near, 'cause you're the only song I want to hear. A melody softly soaring through my atmosphere, a melody softly soaring through my atmosphere, a melody softly soaring through my atmosphere, a melody softly soaring through my atmosphere.
Well, great. Now that we are more inspired again, let me ask you something. You have been doing these walking interviews with so many CEOs, so many very relevant and very interesting people. Do you want to share something that you learned, something that impacted you deeply?
Yes, I've had so many great opportunities to meet people and really walk and talk with them and learn about them. But I think one of the most profound people I've spoken to is his name is Steve Nygren, and he is based right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, here in the U.S. And he's created an entire community based in nature, and it's called Serenbe, and the town is called Serenbe, and it's a very deliberate way to live, and that he wanted to create this community in harmony with nature, not to knock down anything, but to really be one with nature. So that way we create communities with not only nature, but then one another and the people that live there. And it's a beautiful place. I fell in love with it 2 years ago when I went down there to visit him and to interview him. I fell in love with it so much that I wound up filming an entire series, or my entire last year's series of Walk with Walsh at Serenbe, because it's so in line with our messages. We're so very in line with one another. So that interview definitely moved and changed me.
Well, thank you.
Well,
because they are
You'll have to
definitely.
go visit. When you come to America, I think you would love the paths there and the trails, and you could do a lot of your walking there for sure.
For sure, because I've been watching those videos and I've been just, struggling because I cannot go right now.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a reverse question. And have you seen the impact of these talks inside the organizations of the leaders you've talked to? Is this something that you notice?
I have noticed, and I think the more people that are out there speaking like I am about the impact of nature, I think the more of us like we are, that we're connecting. And I feel so honored to be on this program with you, because I think the more of us that come together and speak about the impact of walking outdoors and just spending time, these leaders, and it trickles down throughout the corporations of how important it is. There's so many great wellness programs within corporations, like for yoga and nutrition, but not many back to nature. So I've been so thankful to create these programs for these corporations. And I love seeing people get excited to take 45 minutes out of the day to go outside. And it's the simple, mindfulness walks. It doesn't have to be a hardcore run, or because I love running as well, but I love the witnessing of how nature changes people. And I know how impactful it is for not only the human, but also the family units, and then again, the communities.
Well, thank you. Jennifer, let's do another unfair question.
Okay, I'm ready. I think I'm ready. Go ahead.
What is your favorite hiking route and why?
Come on, that's not fair. That's not fair at all, because there's so many across the world. But I mean, I'm going to have to say right now, because it's my backyard, is Central Park. There isn't a lot of big hiking, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's 843 acres. And I was there this morning, and it was 20 degrees. And it was like almost empty. So I felt like I had the birds and all the animals and the plants and trees around me. And it was very uplifting. So I'm so glad I got to do that right before this interview with you. But I think that's my favorite place to be. I mean, there's so many beautiful places to hike in the world. But for me, my everyday walk is profound, and it really moves me every day. That awe experience I get to have, that really changes my mindset, and it's just the witnessing that's really beautiful, and it's powerful. So that's what I'm going to stick with. I'm going to stick with Central Park as a hike, but it's more of a walk. So I'm sticking with that one.
Yes, we need to put it on our to-do list.
For sure.
What do you think? All right. Yeah.
So let me ask you here a tricky question. We know you've had some interaction with neuroscientists, and for sure you've learned some interesting things. Would you share some of that knowledge with us? Absolutely.
I think the more we find out, the more intrigued we are at how our brain actually changes when we are in nature. And when I learned about awe and the profound experience of just having an awe experience, and you see a rainbow or a waterfall, or having a bird land on your hand, it's just these like little moments in time that really almost rewire our brains to help us get out of the everyday. So it's fascinating when you really kind of see what happens to our brains. But also, I'm going to go back to something else too, which I found out from a scientist. There are phytoncides that are released from certain trees, mostly conifer trees around the world. And there's Dr. Lee discovered this in the early 1980s, that these trees bathe themselves in these phytoncides, or aerosols. And they bathe themselves to kind of protect themselves from bacteria and illness. So when we then inhale those phytoncides when we're walking around the trees, it activates something within us called NK cells, or NK cells get activated, natural killer cells. And when they get activated, it helps us ward off our own disease and illness. So these phytoncides are basically like a daily multivitamin. And Dr. Lee discovered this in the 1980s, and he's been doing so many tests over the decades. And it's beautiful to kind of watch like how simple it is, just how lucky we are just to walk around conifer trees, pine trees, and inhale phytoncides, and it actually acts like a multivitamin. So there's all these great things happening to our bodies and our brains if we just allow ourselves the time to be in it.
Wow, it's wonderful. I mean, and I really hope that the more people hear about this incredible, available, good medicine,
Yes.
they make a better use of it. It's
Absolutely.
And for free.
Yes, that's the best part. And that's why there's so many great park RX things happening around the world. And I know some doctors are now prescribing nature, especially in Europe. I see it a lot more in Europe than the US. US is slow to coming onto that concept, but Europe, they've been doing it for years. So it's great to see they're prescribing nature. Take a little nature walk and call me in the morning.
It's wonderful because it's really kind of a gateway for an adventure with your life. So I want to ask you if you could take off anywhere on an adventure today, what that adventure would be and why?
I'm dying to go to Iceland. I want to go to Iceland right now. If I could get on a plane and go to Iceland today, I would. I've never been, but the beauty, just the profound beauty of Iceland, and I want to hike on the glaciers, and I just want to explore Iceland right now. Maybe you guys can meet me there. We'll go. It must be just so breathtaking. I mean, the pictures and videos and everything I watch and I see. A lot of my friends went a few years ago, and I've been meaning to go, and of course, the world changed a year ago. But I'm really excited for hopefully to go there whenever we're allowed to travel again.
Right. And let me ask you still one different question.
Okay.
Looking at the world today, at the situation we are, and knowing that we cannot travel today to Iceland, in what are you planning to focus your energy in the coming months or years to make an impact?
I love that question. I have really been studying since COVID. I really got my hands on more information on biophilia. And what that means is how we're bringing nature indoors, and how, especially since we're confined to our homes much more than ever before. And I think that's going to last for a while. Even when things kind of open back up, I think we're still going to be spending a lot more time at home than before. So the impact of nature inside. So just kind of teaching people about the health of natural sunlight and having wood features in your home and healthy fabrics within your bedding and your couch and whatever you're bringing inside, and also going to the farmer's market. So I'm really enjoying making these back to nature programs, and something called the Nature Greenprint Plan I started last January. So I test people on what your NGP is, what's your Nature Greenprint Plan, and how nature is impacting your life every day. So then I kind of help them infuse understanding of how nature is really either hindering your indoor health or making you more well. And it can do either way. So I'm really excited about incorporating more nature greenprint plans for not only families, but many more corporations, just for people to have the knowledge of biophilia and biophilic design and what that means for our betterment of our health.
Right. Well, I'm curious to look into that, actually.
Yes.
Fascinating. It's really, once you start reading about biophilia, you go down the rabbit hole, which I think you'll do, and you want to know as much as you can about incorporating natural elements into your home.
Actually, this is the right time of the year if you want to plant something. It's coming.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Speaking of that, do you want to plant some other ideas in our mind with your next music?
Oh, sure. The last song is Ben Howard, and it's called Only Love. And again, I love his voice. I love a lot of Ben Howard songs, but Ben Howard, Only Love, it's a beautiful song. So hopefully you guys will all enjoy it.
Let's listen.
Darling, you with me, always around me. Only love, darling, I feel you under my body. Only love now, give me shelter. You show me heart. Come on, love, watch me fall apart. Watch me fall apart. And I'll be yours to keep. Oh, when in the shadow we're falling in the deep. When in the shadow we're falling in the deep. shelter. You show me heart. Come on, love. Come on, love. Watch me fall apart. 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 Show me love, love, love. Now what's pain? Give me shelter, show me heart. Come on, love, come on, love. Watch me fall apart, watch me fall apart.
Okay, Jennifer, hard to believe, but this sounds to me like a very short walk, actually.
I could do this for another 7 hours with both of you. Can we do that soon, please?
Well, we already have 3 things on the to-do list, right? We have
We do.
Iceland, Central Park,
Central Park, and
Yes.
and 7 hours
Absolutely.
walk. So
I can't wait.
but still,
I look forward to it.
we would.
well, me too.
Me too.
Perfect.
Jennifer, we would like to give you one last challenge. This one is a kind of a classic because we tend to believe that one day we would put all these answers from the beautiful people that we had the pleasure and the honor to talk over this last year, and maybe do something with these answers because they are really inspiring. And the question is very simple: if you had a time capsule where you could, place whatever you want inside, so it can be a message, items, people, whatever you want. So there is no constraint in terms of space. But the idea is that once you fill in this time capsule with something, we will shoot it into the infinite and beyond. And, one day, 1 year, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, someone will open this time capsule. What they will find inside Jennifer Walsh's time capsule.
Okay. I had to think about that. Well, this year has been very profound to me. I think for all of us, we've learned so much about what's going on in the world. And I've learned a lot about not only myself, but how I move around the world when it's so uncertain. And a lot of things changed me this year. I spent 3.5 months living full-time in a tent on the beach. And that changed me. So I've been writing a lot. So I would put in the time capsule a lot of my writings from the past year and getting to know myself better and understanding my connection to nature and animal life. And I'd bring some sand from the beach. Maybe I cut off a little bit of the tent and write a little bit on it, what it was like to live in a tent for 3.5 months. I'd bring a lot of lip balm and lip gloss because I've really missed wearing lip gloss and lip balm the past year because of our masks 24/7 here, especially in New York City. And I bring good hiking boots with me because I don't know where else this would go, but hiking boots, lip balm, my writings, sand, and my tent. And I think that's kind of what I would shoot out into the universe right now.
And that's great.
Thank you, Jennifer. It was such a wonderful pleasure and also an honor because we feel very humbled to, come across on our path with people, so beautiful and doing such a great work, and actually something that we relate so much in our daily lives as well. Thank you so much.
Step by step, we walk together towards the best version of ourselves. For more information about our mentoring programs, visit our website walkingmentorship.com. Keep Walking With Me, it is a podcast inspired by the Walking Mentorship experience.